recorded session. It's a recorded session of our podcast, The Sound of Economics, and there is going to be a conversation between Maria De Mertzis, the Deputy Director of Bruegel, with Tomasz Czajkowski. Tomasz, do I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, very easily. You can do it so that you will pronounce it Zdekowski. You use K without CH, also Zdekowski. It will be much more easy for you.
Zdekowski. Okay, Zdekowski.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are live. So hello everyone also on Twitter and Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the other channels that we have at Bruegel. We are about to record a live session of The Sound of Economics. I will soon give the mic to Maria and Thomas to start this. Just maybe a final housekeeping for the people that just arrived. So this is going to be a conversation that is being recorded. Maria and Thomas will have a first part of the podcast, which is going to be a fireside chat between the two of them. And then there's going to be opening up for questions and remarks from the audience. So stay with us and raise the hand. And if you're listening to us on Twitter or any other channels at the moment, if you want to come on Clubhouse, join us, because here you can also participate with your voice to this conversation. Well, I think I'm pretty much done with housekeeping on my side, Maria. So whenever you're ready, I'm going to give you the mic and we start the recording.
Oh, wonderful. Just give me a go.
So 1, 2, 3. You are recorded.
Good afternoon and welcome to The Sound of Economics. This is the podcast series that we bring to you from Bruegel, the Brussels-based economics think tank. Today we are also live, so you can follow us on all our social channels, including in Clubhouse, where you can join us and actually ask a question live. My name is Maria De Mertzis. I am the Deputy Director at Bruegel, and I'm joined today by Tomasz Zdekowski, who is a member of the European Parliament from the Czech Republic. Thomas, welcome and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, and thank you for your invitation.
Yes, no, I mean, Thomas, we are delighted to have you, and we are about to initiate a conversation on a theme that will be with us for some time, and that is, of course, the Next Generation EU Fund. As the national recovery plans are being submitted by the countries to the European Commission, at Bruegel, we will be reading these programs very, very carefully, evaluating how money is dedicated to spending, and in fact, to what effect. But we thought we should kickstart this discussion and have you, Tomasz, because we know you care about the issue very much, to talk about perhaps one of the most important aspects of this New Generation EU Fund, and indeed any EU funds, and that is the way that it is being governed, whether the money is well spent, and what type of governance is going to ensure that we have good spending. Thomas, if you could give us sort of a little bit of your background and your interest in the topic by means of setting the scene.
Yes, thank you very much, Maria. I would like only tell you one very important thing at the beginnings. I am coordinator in Budget Control Committee, and I was for 5 years in Budgetary Committee in European Parliament, and my background is crisis manager. Also, I was businessman. I was owner of 3 companies, and I did really business, and I was interested about the topic crisis management as well. And what I see now, it's really very well prepared project how to give the stimulus package ever finance in Europe, and I think it's very important topics, and it's very important to speak about it, because I think that not so many people knows the detail of this big deal what is prepared. We are speaking about 1.8 trillion euro, and I think that it can influence our future for many years. Also, I think it's very important to have it open dialogue about that and open debate and speak how to use the money and what is really um, helpful for the European Union and what does it need any financing. Also, this is the position what we are now discussing, and especially from budgetary control committee perspective, we are discussing about the effectiveness of financing. Also, we cannot finance something for something and we will say, oh, it was perfect, but we will speak about the effectivity and effectiveness of every euro what we will send it to member states. It's very important.
Yes, thank you very much, and Thomas. And let me perhaps remind our audience. Thomas talked about the 1.8 trillion. Indeed, that is the complete budget for a 7-year period for the EU. Just over 1 trillion is the traditional budget, what we call the multi-annual framework, which will last 7 years. This is the budgetary cycle in the EU context. And the rest, which brings us up to the 1.8 trillion, it's about 750 billion, is the new money, the next generation EU fund. And when I say new, is because it wasn't there before, so it really is new. And it was very much stimulated by the pandemic. And let me give a little bit more information on this as well, and then I'll come back to you, Thomas. There is the 750 billion is money that was brought together centrally at the European Union to try and finance investments for, indeed, the next generation. It is really money that needs to be aligned with our objectives for the future. And one important innovation here is the following. More or less half of it is in the form of grants, so it's very similar to the traditional budget, and half of it is in the form of loans. But here comes the innovation. What is really important about this money is that it will be money borrowed centrally from the EU to be given to countries, some of it in terms of loans and some of it in terms of grants. This is the first time that the EU will be borrowing to give out grants. The EU has borrowed before to give out loans, but this will be the first time that the EU as an entity is actually pulling risks together, and it gives out grants to countries. This is quite an important step in the context of EU architecture, don't you think, Thomas?
You are absolutely right. I think that you have it very deep information about it, and you can now present all the things because really the knowledge of details is impressive. And I would like only tell you that it's really very important make any reform of the EU. It's not for the future to give someone grants around whole of Europe, but Lawrence's, I think this is the type of new financing of the EU project and how EU really should function for the future, because it's very important speak about effectiveness and about responsibility. And sometimes if we control European money, we see that many countries don't have it so deep knowledge about how was the project used and what was the effect of the project. And with allowances, there is through the commercial banks, I think it will be much more pressure to the projects to be successful and to be much more effective and brings something new. Have it any something what will give the European Union any plus something what will be any innovation and what will bring new power to the EU and what will give us much more money to the European budget, because I think that we need new projects what will be successful in global market. And I think that this next generation EU is counting with them. You need to have it any own resources, but I think that the combination of the money, it's really very well prepared, and I think that it can really give the chance the startups or new projects to have it any financing from the EU. Also, from my side, it's really very positive, and I'm very happy. It's really the direction of the reform of European financing, not only the grant. I think the grants are important for some project of the member states or between the member states. We are speaking about infrastructure projects, etc. But for the private company, the allowances can be really something what can give the new impulse to the commercial sector, and it can really bring much more money to European countries and much more progress to European countries.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the details of the spending and where it will go. Perhaps I can add one point just to add to the importance that actually Thomas also described, and that is that this is as I said in the beginning, this is a really very innovative tool in the context of the European architecture. It is, of course, for the moment at least, and the way that it has been agreed, a one-off tool. So it is, the European Union commits to borrow just this once, meaning in this budgetary cycle. Is not a permanent tool that will stay with us. But for those of the people who believe that this ought to be a permanent tool, I think it's very important to try and evaluate the governance of it. And this is exactly why we're having this conversation. If you want this tool to turn permanent, it will be all the more important to convince that it does good, it does well, it is proper managed, and it creates real value for money. So perhaps we can come then, Thomas, and talk a little bit about the national plans, how you see the money being spent, to what effect. And then we'll talk a little bit about how it will be governed. I think our audience will be very keen to hear also from you as a politician, how you would like to see the control mechanisms, the checks and balances on how countries actually spend this money. So perhaps we can start with, who will this money, both the grants and the loans, finance to what objective? What is really tried to achieve with the EU New Generation EU Fund?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that we have it in the European Union established some mechanism and tools how to control this money. And I think that it's very important now discuss what we want for the projects in this multi-annual financial framework and next generation. I think it's really very important discuss what does recovery fund mean, and it's mean something new. And from my point of view, it's very important make any reform in Digital Europe. We are speaking about Digital Europe programs, but the financing of this program was very low, and we have to increasing the budget, and now we have it the chance how to increasing, and it's very important really send the money to innovative projects. And I think that innovation doesn't mean that must be very successful projects, but for the long term, it can be really something what will bring the Europe first place on the global market. And second things is just transition fund, I see there a lot of things what can bring the the CO2 neutrality, and we can support through this program a lot of projects. Especially, I will give you one example in the Czech Republic. We have it in the coal industry, around 30,000 of people. And if we will receive the money for transformation and for new technology, we really do there a lot of wants in three regions bring new technologies and have it there, the green mobility, because without money we will not solve the problem with pandemic. We will not solve problem with green technologies. We will not solve problem with digital Europe, what we want to do. And I think it's very important, uh, really at the beginning, have it clear definition, what are the projects and how they will be financed and what will be a result of these projects. And they are things what we wanted from the budget control perspective, but I think that all my colleagues are thinking about that in this same way.
Yeah, indeed, there are differences between countries, and we are beginning to see some of the plans that have been submitted. The countries are looking to reform different things because, of course, their needs are quite different. But I mean, as Thomas said, two of the overarching objectives of the New Generation EU Fund, which is also in line with the EU objectives, are very much what Thomas called the transformation. This is a wonderful word because it refers to investments. It refers to the future, not current spending, but how do we invest for the future on two of the most important objectives, which is climate change and the digital transformation. So we are seeing that the countries are putting suggestions forward on exactly these two objectives, amongst other things, which are common between the EU. But then perhaps, Thomas, we can move a little bit on the governance of it, and how will the money be released to these countries, and under what conditions, if I may say so. Could you please let us know how you understand the process so far? Hello, Thomas, can you hear us?
Yes, yeah. I really saw in the papers and proposition from the European Commission that redistribution copies the population and the necessary transformation. Also, the biggest beneficiaries will be Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. And in the context of pre-financing, the countries can receive up to 13% all direct grants. And according to Commissioner Hahn discussion, the European Commission can raise around 15 billion of euro amount at the best interest rate in the markets. Also, it's very important that the European Commission will therefore have this money only after 3 months. And I think that it's really very important that the redistribution will go through the member states. There will be some of European grants, especially in some things what we know from Horizon 2020, from Horizon Europe. There are some project for research and innovation, for example, but more money from this budget will go through the member states, because the member states knows what is most important things and how they want to solve it. If they have it problem with digitalization, they can really find or send the money to some project what will be linked with digitalization, or if they have a problem with uh, coal meaning as the Czech Republic, and with transformation and with building infrastructure for green mobility, they can send the money directly there. Also, it's dialogue between the European Commission, member states, and the European Parliament as the control, budgetary control, um, most important institution. But I think that it will be only most of this project it will be only on the member states how they will establish the priority.
Well, I guess if we can dwell on this point for a minute, because this is where I think there is a little bit of uncertainty, simply because we haven't seen it before. So how this will play out remains a little bit of an unknown. One of the things that we need to sort of try and understand is whether the national plans that are coming in right now, as you said, Thomas, these are each country's suggestions on how to use the money that is allocated to them. Is it possible that these national plans could be rejected by the European Commission, or indeed by other countries? Because we know that the European Council, so other countries, will have views on each other's national plans. So it would be interesting to know, do you see the European Commission rejecting any of these plans? And what is the, if I may call, conditionality, even if it's not money-wise? What is the conditionality that will come with these programs? Who has the final word on how this money is being spent?
Yes, there is possibility that the European Commission will not give it money, because it will not focus, the project will be not focused for the goals what the European Commission define. The part of money goes to the research and innovation. This is from the Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe now we call. Then we have it some project for the fighting against the climate change and for the digital transformation. There are some of projects that are really focus for the capacity risk EU. Also, they are linked with pandemia, and I think that many of these projects really can be problematic. I know the situation in the Czech Republic, and in the Czech Republic, we have it a lot of projects that are not well prepared, and after receiving the plans, the European Commission will have 2 months to evaluate the plans and connect to actual future payments. Also, the European Commission will check whether country plan sufficient number of the structural reforms, and whether independent monitoring body will check the expenditures. If the control system are not sufficient, the plan cannot be approved. Also, it's very important. And after the European Commission approves the plans, it's make a founding proposal to the Council, which a majority of countries must agree. This is where the tension will be, and I hope that we will find there any compromises between the countries, because I think that priority of the Western or North European countries is a little bit other as the priority. The countries from the East or from the South Europe, and it will be very, very important and very sensitive issue how to do it, and who will be really the most responsible for authority for this project, and how the member states will find any compromise between them, because the pressure of the West European country to digitalization cannot be really be very well heard by some of countries, and we see that they have it now much more project for the infrastructure, especially in the Czech Republics. We need money for do the green infrastructure for electric vehicles, because the government didn't finance it a lot, and it's very important. It will be very important for the Czech government to negotiate it, this money for this project.
If I may dwell on some of the issues that you raised, Thomas, because I think they are crucial for the success, if you like, of the fund. There's a number of countries in the EU that have got either poor track record of absorbing EU funds, or who have actually, if I dare say, that haven't got a very good track record in terms of the way that they handle funds. So, given that the new money, this new generation EU fund, the 750 billion, will actually be governed by both the Commission and other countries. Can we envisage a situation in which, one country does not really put the money to the use that it had promised to do through its national recovery plan, and therefore money is retracted? Can we envisage something like that? How do we indeed ensure that the money are well spent? With that, I would also actually like to bring in the audience and see their audience is raising hands. Why don't I also bring in Harry, who would like to ask a question? Harry.
Hi, thanks, Maria, for letting me ask a question. I'm Harry. I'm from the Philippines. I just started a think tank called Decolonizing Global. And I think about every day the role of US-China relations and how it affects the rest of the world, in terms of tech and digitization and even infrastructure and the environment. So my question is about basically how the EU and its deal with China. I know I just read a headline that it's currently looking at being frozen in the parliament. What is the likelihood that that passes through? And then what is the likelihood that BRI, to its full extent, with a lot of infrastructure investment from China, will move the EU away from being a strategic partner of the US? Thanks for the opportunity to ask this question. I'm Harry and I'm done speaking.
Thomas, before I give you the floor, Harry, this is a very important question. And I really will welcome you to come to our events where we discuss these issues. The New Generation EU Fund doesn't have really a China component or an EU-China component. It's much more about internal investments. Now, of course, one could argue that the way that we invest money in Europe will give us a bigger voice in the outside world, and therefore feed also into the discussion of the type that you're asking. But for the moment, we are discussing the Next Generation EU funds. Where will the money spend, and how can we make sure that this money is well spent? Thomas.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. I will really respond it very quickly. Yes, the European Parliament blocked a little bit this agreement because we saw there a lot of things what are really very positive for the Chinese company and for the Chinese, but not for the European Union and European countries and for small SMEs. Also, if you look to this agreement, I think that this agreement really it's perfect for the China investment and for the Chinese what they wanted do, especially in the infrastructure project in the Europe. But if you compare the option and the possibilities what the European countries and European companies can do in China, I think it's not enough, and we have improve this agreement a lot, because we want really the relationship would will be as win-win situation, and not that Europe will ask China to invest here much more money and to cooperate with us, and China will be closed market, and small company will not have a chance to come there without any corruption and without any long process, what is much more linked with Communist Party as with normal business. Also, this is our position. And as Maria said, this is very important for the investment, because we are speaking from the Cont perspective about transparency of the companies, and this is why we are speaking now about in the case of the conflict of interest, Mr. Babiš, about who is final beneficiary of the company, because we know that in this moment the Chinese companies or Chinese investors are coming to the Europe. They are really buying the companies what we have it here, and from this moment they present themselves as the European company, but they are not. Also, the same problem we have it with Russia investment, and the question is that if we want to really finance from this money some of Russian or Russia or Chinese projects, or if we want cooperate only, or how to manage it. And it's very important question from the beginning. Also, the transparency register, it's one of things what we want to have it in very short time, and we will ask the European Commission how they can manage who is really the final receiver of the money. Also, that we will not finance from this recovery package some projects on immigration and the border control, and it will be not linked by mafia. We have it the same experience from 2014 2015 from Italy, when there was mafia behind some of projects, how to manage it, how to manage the immigration problem, and they were behind some of camps and behind the infrastructure in this camp, in this refugee camps. Also, we have to be very careful in this project, and we have to know that really it can be a strategic problem for whole the Europe. And if it will be the case, you cannot predict everything and you cannot stop everything. We will really declare at the beginning that we will stop all this project at in the moment if we will see there any frauds, or it will be not used in the way what we want to finance. Also, this is really very important and very clear message to all companies what are now asking for the grants or for the allowances, because it's very necessary to be absolutely transparent in the process.
Yes, indeed. I believe also Giuseppe wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, indeed, Thomas, your last remark goes really in the direction of what I wanted to ask, because I'm very curious. You've been in the past very active on calling for investigation of Babiš on the grounds of alleged fraud in obtaining EU subsidies. So I was wondering within the presentation we had so far about the Next Generation EU and the Recovery Fund. If you could enlighten us, like tell us what is the vision, the perception from the ground in the Czech Republic about the recovery plan that has been presented by the government at the moment. You have both perspectives, being a member of the European Parliament, but also active in the political reality of the Czech Republic. And it will be extremely interesting for us to understand what is the debate at the moment, what is being discussed in the civil society, in the political realm, and at the governmental level at the moment, the Czech Republic, regarding the recovery fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's question for 1.5 hours if I will respond all the details, but I want to be very short, very brief, and I want to give you some overview of the situation in my country. To the Andrej Babiš, the Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, is most richest man in my country. He has really all the projects and all his companies very close link to European budget, especially in agriculture sector, in innovation, in some food company. He can take the money for investment or chemical industry, for the investment and for rebuilding, for new technologies, etc. But he sent his company to some trust fund, but we see there that the trust fund really doesn't function very well, because at the end of the trust fund, he can really, he is the final beneficiary of all the money what the companies are renting. Also, the problem is that he is now in the position that he prepare recovery plan for the Czech Republic, and after the election he cannot to be prime minister, he can be only businessman, and he will be the bigger owner of the companies who will receive this money. Also, it's a really curious situation. This is why we wanted to stop all the money for his Agrofert holding, and why we criticize the council, that he has the chance, the influence, how he will do, how we will spend this money for the projects. And now in this moment, he's every time saying that these companies are not owned by himself, but it's not true. He has his office still in one of this company. He's using all the benefits of the company, especially the aeroplane of the holding Agrofert. His wife is using all the things what they have it there around, included the cars and all the seats, and his family is there. Also, the problem is that the plan is perfect, but in the Czech Republic, we have a little bit fear that it's prepared really very well for some of his company, not only, but for many of them, they can take the money for restructuralization, especially in the chemical industry. They can do it very easily, and they can not use the money for investment, but they can do it from the European recovery plan. Also, it can be problematic.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. I'm sorry to cut in because I'm also aware of the time, and I see there's also one more question from Mia. Mia, you wanted to ask a question?
Yes, hi, thanks. So I'm a bit curious about the whole political and power dimension between the government, like during the governance of while the plans will be implemented, because I mean overall the NGEU is very also a political instrument, and we've seen already in the past that there have been quite some, I mean the process of ratification, all that has been politicized quite heavily. And the payouts in the end will be determined and decided conditional on the milestones and targets. So I'm just wondering how you see this power balance between the Parliament and the Commission and the Council, how that will unfold if you believe the Commission actually has the power to withhold payouts and yeah, to enforce this.
If I may, this is really the $1 million question. Thank you, Mia, for asking that. This is really having a good understanding of how this will play out is crucial. And if Mia is right that this is a political game, then the uncertainty that will gather all the investments is going to be huge. So, will investors be able to start any project if there is a fear that there will be political capture sometime down the line, and therefore it will kill it on its heels? It will be interesting to hear your view, Thomas, on this, on how you see the European politics actually allowing for some of this uncertainty to be removed.
Yes, you said that it's $1 million question. Also, I think Mia, you respond in your question for many things, and we have it the same fear, and this is why we are looking for the tools how to solve it. It's not easy. It's not easy, but every time we know that it can be politicized. Also, you can never before say, and I give you the example from my country, how can be used. It's really huge budget and huge money, and it's not really, you cannot in our proposals really before prevent everything. Also, yes, it's a little bit threats of this very positive project, but from the beginnings we are really deeply with European Commission, and I will say 2 times deeply with Commissioner Hahn, how to prevent it. And it's especially now in the process when the European Commission is choosing and observing projects, and they are looking what we want to do. In this moment, it's very necessary find a strategy how to prevent it, that there will be not use for some political pressure for someone, or give someone any positive subsidiarities to grow up, and it will be very difficult. And it's much more about the dialogue between the EU NGOs as Transparency International and other NGOs, and with the public society, and really find any way how to manage it. We cannot make much more bureaucracy. It's not necessary, but it's very important really find in this way any how to say golden way how to solve it, and it will be not easy, and it's still on process.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for this. I mean, I think the first thing we can do is make sure that the national plans that are being submitted are good in line with the objectives of the New Generation EU Fund, and they are characterized by a sense of realism in terms of what can be done in the context of the next budgetary cycle. So I think that perhaps that is the first thing to do, because I really share your view that this is a very important tool for helping countries invest for the future, and making sure that it achieves its objectives is going to be the defining characteristic of whether this tool can be made, can be used again, if not made permanent. I'm afraid this is all we have time for today. We will continue this discussion on through other channels as well on the Next Generation EU Fund. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your initial thoughts on the subject. We will have more on this, and I will urge you to follow our Bruegel page, where we announce all the new things that we do. For the moment, let me take this opportunity to thank our speaker and those of you who participated in the conversation. We will have more on this, so stay tuned, and thank you very much. Thanks very much, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much, Giuseppe. Thank you very much, Bruegel, Harry, Mia, and all participants who were here with us. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all best. Stay safe, and please trust to the future of the EU.